The NBA is back. Yes, we've got Knicks Celtics bringing in the new season on the hardwood before the debut of a new sitcom. Meet the Jameses follows suit. That's right, LeBron James and Bronny suit up for the Lakers as their home opener against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rounds us out on this Tuesday. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tommy John Studio in New York City. I am your host, Troy DeCirco, and this is Green Dot Daily, coming to you live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. We've got Matt Moore and Jay Money getting you ready for the NBA season with best bets, futures, and more ahead of tonight's tip. Plus, we've got Chad Millman and Simon Hunter of the Favorites podcast breaking down the latest odds in the NFL MVP market as Lamar Jackson soars yet again to number one. We'll also have Sean Zerillo talk futures ahead of Game 1 of the World Series on Friday night. And stop me if you've heard this for about the 5th time in my opening spiel. It's opening night in the hardwood, so let's start in the NBA. And we've got plenty of new faces making their team debut on opening night, highlighted by Karl Anthony Towns and the New York Knicks. Towns was traded this offseason from Minnesota as Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, among other assets, were moved to the Timberwolves. Randle suffered a season-ending injury in late January and missed the team's run to the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Knicks also picked up Mikal Bridges for a bevy of first-round picks, solidifying their rotation for the future to come. And tipping off at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight, the Los Angeles Lakers play host to those aforementioned Timberwolves. It'll be J.J. Redick's Lakers debut, going from podcast host to actual coach. L.A. looks to rebound following its first-round exit last season at the hands of Denver in LeBron James' 22nd season in the NBA. The T-Wolves, on the other hand, look to build momentum after a Western Conference Finals run. Lakers are 1-point underdogs here tonight. And then the game actually tipping off the NBA season. The Boston Celtics look to defend its first NBA title since 2008. Boston rolls out the same exact lineup as last season and welcome in none other than the New York Knicks. Boston is 6-point favorites in this one without Kristaps Porzingis. And you know the NBA is back in town when we've got more money with Matt Moore and Jay Money on the show. Guys, it's good to have you back. Let's dive right into the Knicks and Celtics tonight, the game that everybody's talking about. And I have to ask the question, Jay, I'll start with you first. Who's under more pressure tonight? The Celtics, who just won a championship and have to come out strong against their rival in the Knicks, or the New York Knicks, who completely rebanded this offseason?
I'm going to go with the Celtics. Obviously, they're reigning champs. They get their rings tonight. They raise banner 18 as well. That's the most championships for any NBA team. So, and everyone's talking like they're just the perfect team as well, which, I mean, they made me a lot of money last year, so I love the Celtics. But I do think that there's a little bit more pressure on them tonight at home.
Matt, as for you, I saw that little, half eye roll when he said the Boston Celtics. So I'm assuming you think the Knicks have the most pressure entering this game tonight.
Not to get ahead of ourselves or do a spoiler alert, but Jay's surprisingly taken the team he's fading tonight as the team with the most pressure. Shocker there. It's the Knicks. They built this whole damn team to beat Boston. Hey, let's go get Mikal Bridges so we can switch 1 through 5. Hey, let's go get Karl Anthony Towns so we've got to stretch 5 of our own that we can go up against Kristaps Porzingis. The entire thing here is trying to beat Boston. This Knicks team is better built to beat Boston than they are the rest of the Eastern Conference. We'll see if that works out, because a lot of times when you build a team to beat one squad, it does not go well for you down the line with the other teams. But regardless, it's got to be the Knicks here. They don't have to win this game. All right, you're in Boston. Teams have been dominant in terms of straight up on the money line in the home opener on banner night over the last decade. But they got to hang here. The Knicks have got to hang in this game. If you get blown out without Kristaps Porzingis, and you realize how far you are away, it's not the end of the world. NBA season's 1,800 months long, but it does show you the gap between you and where you want to get to. The Knicks need to be able to at least hang, if not win, in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you that I think they have to hang in this game. I mean, the fact that they've put and given up so much for, Mikal Bridges, then they ship Randle and DiVincenzo to get Karl Anthony Towns. They really Not like the Celtics when they traded away all their guys and went all in, or it was the Brooklyn Nets, rather, they traded for all the guys from the Celtics. But it gives that similar feeling. Jay, I'm curious your thoughts. I'll allow you to respond to Matt, who kind of came at the Celtics there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that the Knicks keep it close. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the game outright. But if we're just talking about pressure, obviously the Celtics at the house on ring night, all the pressure is going to be on them. But I definitely understand what Matt's saying. Even though just one game doesn't define your season, I could definitely understand what he's saying there with the pressures on the Knicks. They have built their team to pretty much beat the Celtics, and that is part of the reason why I think that the Knicks have a really great game tonight. They match up perfectly with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the matchup at hand and best bets for, both games tonight, the other one being the Timberwolves and Lakers. But I do want to broaden the horizon a little bit, guys. It's opening night, so I want to know there's one team that you have to choose between massively outperforming or underperforming expectations. Who would you end up choosing? Jay, I'll kick it to you first.
I think the Washington Wizards are going to both underperform and outperform. Their season win total is sitting somewhere around like 19.5. I think they're going to be even worse than we expect. I wouldn't be surprised if they only won single-digit games. They traded away their two best players last year from last year as well. They have a few players that's on the team that just don't really seem super interested in playing basketball or more interested in getting millions of dollars than playing actual basketball. So I think the Wizards are going to be unbelievably bad this year, even worse than expected.
Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma leading a very young Wizards team. Definitely in for a tough time if you're a DC sports fan. Matt, as for you, you're going toward a team that you think might actually overperform expectations.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. I'm bringing some optimism here. So the Mavericks made it to the finals. They lost. And as usual, it's like, oh, we're all excited to kind of fade that, right? Like, yeah, kind of a fluke run. Let's see if we can get on the finals loser. But instead, like, you look at their offseason, forget Klay Thompson. Just look at Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes and what they're going to bring and how they're going to be better. But for me, it's actually even less about the additions, and it's more about just one guy, Derek Lively. When he and Luka played together last season, they wanted a 53-win pace. They just couldn't get them on the floor at the same time. When Lively was in, Luka was out. When Luka was in, Lively was out. But when they were together, that's the best pick and roll combo player that Luka has ever played with. This is the best roster Luka's ever played with. Their win total is sub 50. I've got an alt play on them in the Action Network app at over 54.5. I like them for all sorts of things on the seeding line. I think this is going to be an absolutely awesome Dallas Mavericks season.
Yeah, an NBA championship run that fell just short for the Dallas Mavericks. Feels like it's NBA championship or bust yet again for them now that they've been there, done that. As you mentioned, the best Dallas Mavericks team under Luka Doncic yet. So the other thing I want to talk about, guys, and it kind of tails into best bets a little bit. Well, they don't give us the opportunity, that is, to bet on it, and that's Bronny James tonight making his debut. I said JJ Redick making his head coaching debut. Well, Bronny James, LeBron James, father-son duo in action tonight. Matt, you're going first here because I know you've been waiting all show to talk about this one. It's not the nepotism proponent that gets you upset about the Bronny James, LeBron James situation. It's how the sports books are handling this entire situation. So the floor is yours.
Yeah. So, like, look, I think it's fine. It's a cute story. I want good things for the kid. I think it's a lot of pressure that he's under, and that's unfair. But let's just talk about the sports book. All summer long, Bronny specials. Bronny to score more than 20 points in a game. Bronny to win Rookie of the Year, which there was just a release from a sports book that's one of the highest bet props or futures on the board. They're taking all this money and putting all these bets out, and now it's game day. And I understand that bench players, we're not going to probably see the props until closer to tip. Maybe we'll get them. Maybe we'll get them. And if we do, it's going to be fascinating to see how low that thing moves if it opens at 1.5 points, how quickly it can go to 0.5. Because they're not allowing any sort of action on the under here. Just nothing. No, you can't go the other direction. You can only bet the upside on this ridiculous forced contraption, which, again, not fair to the kid. Like, I want to be very clear on this. I don't blame Bronny for any of this, but the hype around him based off of his relationship to his dad is unfair to him. And the sports books are just like, hey, you want to bet Bronny? Let's bet Bronny. Is Bronny going to average a triple-double? Like Victor Wembanyama, I don't know who's more overhyped. Victor Wembanyama or Bronny James? What are we doing here? Put him on the board. I want to bet the unders. Let's go, books.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And listen, I was surprised more that like they didn't have just the overs available where they just have the market and it's like Bronny to score 10, Bronny to score 15, Bronny to score 20. I'm not surprised that they're not allowing us to bet an under. The Lakers reportedly are going to get him into game action, which I'm surprised of in and of myself. Jay, I'm curious your thoughts as well on this situation. I'm sure, you want to fade Bronny if somehow they were allowing us the opportunity.
Yeah, as a guy that likes the Lakers tonight, please don't put Bronny in the game. Like, let's just be serious here. Please, can you send him to the G League for just a little while before we talk about putting him in actual games, especially not the first game of the season as well, where it's JJ's Redick. It's his first game of the season. I'm sure that they really would like to win. I believe they've lost their last three season openers. They hadn't won the first game of the season the last 3 years. So, not the perfect time to be trying to experiment with Bronny out there. Just kind of feels a little bit WWE like, where it's more about entertainment than it is about the actual game. So I'm right there with Matt. If they please bring out Bronny props, I don't care if his point total is at .5. I'd be betting the under, but please, let's just save that for a different day.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I mean, listen, the reports say that he's getting in. I'm with you, Jay. I don't know how you can put Bronny James into this. Listen, it's a feel-good story, but at the end of the day, you have to go out and win, and he does not give you the best chance to win. So totally agree with both of you there. All right, let's transition to tonight's bets. We'll talk Lakers and the Timberwolves in just a second. But Jay, your favorite bet on the board tonight, and Matt kind of hinted at it, is the New York Knicks. They're right around 5.5, 6-point underdogs, a total of 223.5. Tell me why you think the Knicks match up well with Boston without Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, I'm going with the Knicks here at +5.5. You can even get 6 now. I mean, if you wait closer to game time, you may even get a better number than that. I know that everyone's on the Celtics. It's me against the world in this particular spot, a spot that I'm actually pretty comfortable in as well. But they match up really well defensively with Boston as well. Like Matt alluded to, they literally built this whole team to stop the Celtics. You have Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, two first-team all-defensive guys that you can throw up against Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum as well. I do feel like they have a major offensive advantage with Karl Anthony Towns as well, going up against old man Al Horford down there as well. So this is one thing that the Knicks have always missed, a scoring center. Now you have that pick and pop with Jalen Brunson. I think that pick and roll is going to be absolutely deadly in my opinion. So I'm expecting Cat to have a huge game tonight, and I'm expecting this game to go down to the wire. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks were able to win this game outright and shock the world. Give me the points in this season opener on Celtics ring night. I will take the Knicks +5.5 here.
Yeah, it does feel like, Knicks Celtics always come with the thrillers. The Knicks are going to be definitely, rejuvenated and ready with Karl Towns, Mikal Bridges, the Nova boys minus DiVincenzo in action, and then the Knicks, no Mitchell Robinson, no Precious Achiuwa. You mentioned Karl Anthony Towns likely in for a huge day, both scoring and on the glass. The other game, Matt Moore, your best bet comes out of the Timberwolves and Lakers game. And I guess if Bronny James plays, that's good news for you because you like the under here. Minnesota, 1-point faves, 222.5 total. Tell me why you like the under.
Yeah, this is definitely a market play and a little bit of context around it. So this opened over the summer at 225, and then this guy's low earlier, like over the weekend, at 219.5. We're back up to 222.5. So there's been a little bit of movement back towards the over. I'm still comfortable with it at 222.5. I'm not scared of this late steam. Games that season opener games that have been steamed down more than 3 points from the total are 37, 24, and 1. That's 61% since 2003, and it goes to 22, 10, and 1 since 2014. I've asked some coaches around the league about, hey, what's the news on the officiating? Because we had like one officiating that was real loosey-goosey for the All-Star break, and then we had a different set of officiating after the All-Star break that was basically blood sport. And the league was like, no, nothing's changed. And that was a lie. And so I've been asking, like, which officiating are we going to get? The coaches have kind of been informed that it's going to be closer to what it was second half of the season. The words FIBA type physicality allowed has been kind of the buzzword that's been going around with coaches in the NBA. So the totals are lower than they were to start last season, but they're still higher than they were on average after All-Star break last year. So I still think there's going to be an edge here on certain under spots. I like this one. Obviously, Wolves defense, even with Randall, I still think they're going to be able to defend at a high level. They've got great perimeter defenders. They've got great interior defense. I think the Lakers will be pretty good on this as well. And I think that both teams, while I'm expecting both teams to try and shoot more threes this season, I don't know that they're going to be able to absolutely knock them down in this first game. There's probably going to be some miscommunication on both sides. The Lakers are implementing a new system under Redick, and the Wolves, on the other hand, have some new guys they've got to get into the mix. So all of that, I like the under 222.5 here.
Yeah, a lot of new faces in Minnesota, as you mentioned. Head coaching change, opening night, Ross. There's so many, trends that point toward the under as opposed to, everyone wanting to just see a lot of points scored on opening night because that's just how the public likes to see things. Before we let you go, guys, really quickly here, I want to get a couple of long shots, some dark horses, if you will. Matt, I'm going to kick it right back to you. Your favorite dark horse / long shot bet of the season.
Yeah, I don't know how this happened, but I got turned around from like I'm not really interested in the Suns at all in July to now I'm just like basically painting my face orange. How about KD to average 25 plus per game and the Suns to win the title at 45 to 1? Mike Budenholzer is the new coach there. I was skeptical that they would buy in, but I saw them up close and personal last week for a preseason game, talked to some folks, and it does sound indeed like they bought into Mike Budenholzer's system. That's going to change how the Suns operate on offense. They'll actually shoot threes with this absolutely stacked squad of shooters as opposed to just shooting mid-range shots. That's going to help. I think the defense gets better with Mike Budenholzer. The way that they play drop scheme will be a lot cleaner, I think, with how Bud is able to coach up the regular season. So they'll be in a good spot for that. KD 25 plus is a nice add-on there. He's just still lethal in the regular season. So I really like this long shot. 25 plus per game and the Suns to win the title at 45 to 1 in the specials tab at Sportsbook.
Yeah, Matt painting his face orange with his new buddy on Twitter, Kevin Durant. At least he did reply to one of your tweets, I remember. But Jay Money, your favorite dark horse of the season is who?
I'm gonna go with Victor Wembanyama to record 65 or more double doubles in the regular season at plus 2,500. The only thing that really could keep him away from this is health. As long as he stays healthy, plays 70 or more games, I definitely think that it's very possible that he can get there to over 65 double doubles. So let's go with Wemby, 65 plus double doubles in the regular season, plus 2,500.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it feels like injury is the only thing to kind of hold this one back. He's been absolutely dominant his rookie season. Should take just another step forward in his sophomore year. Matt, before we let you go, you mentioned you like the Suns to win the title, threw in the KD appetizer, but the finals matchup and price that you like the most is the Suns and who?
The Celtics at plus 25 you can get this. That's a really good price on this. So the objective here is basically, look, this Celtics price is too short. They're going to get longer at some point probably. They'll probably have either an injury or a new situation where we can get a longer price on Boston than we have right now for the title. But being able to get this in preseason with these numbers on the other side means you've locked that in and you can start taking some longer shots in the Eastern Conference if it's looking good. Like if we're projected for the Suns to have the 1 seed, say if they get past OKC, who I think is probably going to wind up with a 1, if they're on track for 60 plus wins and a 1 seed and Boston's doing their thing in the Eastern Conference, this is a really good position to build other bets off of as the season goes along once we get into January, February, and March. So as of right now, I'll take Suns versus Celtics plus 25. You got the loser from 2021, the loser from 2022, last year's champs. I think that'd be a really interesting matchup between the Phoenix Suns and the Boston Celtics.
Matt Moore buying a lot of Phoenix Suns stock in the early going here, guys. The NBA season is back, and I'm excited to talk the NBA with you every single week on Green Dot Daily, guys. Matt Moore, Jay Money, appreciate you guys so much and excited for the discussions around Joel Embiid and load management to come next week.
Thanks.
And just a reminder, if you want access to all of Action Pro's projections, make sure to sign up for our annual subscription that is currently on sale. Access includes exclusive player pop picks from Sean Kerner and other members of the Action Analytics team. You'll also get access to exclusive expert articles, our best spread, money line, and total bets, and real ticket and money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today and use code GDD20 at sign up. One more time, that's code GDD20 at sign up for $20 off. It's time to talk the NFL over on Green Dot Daily, and stop me if you've heard this before, but Lamar Jackson is the new favorite in the MVP odds, looking to defend the award from last year. Jackson put on a show on Monday Night Football with 281 yards and 5 touchdown passes. The Ravens won their 5th straight as Jackson now sits as the plus 210 favorite over at FanDuel. Jared Goff has also made a big leap week over week and has found himself right in the thick of the conversation after a road win against the Vikings. And of course, Patrick Mahomes remains inside the top 5 after yet another win. The undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, despite a negative touchdown to INT ratio, as we welcome in Chad Millman and Simon Hunter of the favorites. Now, Simon, I want to ask you, you look at that full screen and you can kind of say one is not like the other in terms of just pure statistics, but, you know, Mahomes is undefeated, and it's become a quarterback award, the MVP award. I'm curious your thoughts on this market and if it's warranted that Mahomes is still inside this top 5 despite not the glamorous stats.
Yeah, when did it become so heavy in statistics, right? I think we look at the matchups. Lamar got beat by Mahomes in that week 1 game. You could say, well, that was a little fluky, but it's just, that's what Mahomes does. He wins these games that people just don't think he can do it. And, you know, all these guys on this list, have they dealt with what Mahomes has dealt with this season? He's lost his wide receiver 1, his wide receiver 2, his wide receiver 3, his number 1 running back, which, I mean, we can't say enough how important Isaiah Pacheco was to this offense. And then they have a rotation at left tackle. Like, he doesn't have week to week the same left tackle. So I just look at this team, and it's just, he's so good that when he is struggling like he is right now, trying to force the ball downfield, people get upset. But it's like, dude, he's throwing to Noah Gray. Like, his best receiver right now is a 34-year-old tight end who's getting double teamed. And it's like, it's incredible this man is 6-0. Like, you look at teams who make it to the Super Bowl and then the next year they fall off a cliff. So this guy's won 2 Super Bowls in a row. He's going for the 3-peat. He's 6-0. And you just look across the aisle. Look at the 49ers, right? They've had injuries. They've fallen apart. They're 3-4. Like, I just think people are too comfortable with Mahomes, and that's why he just, you know, if he's not putting up 15 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, people are like, he's not that good. Something's wrong with this guy. And it's just like, the bar is way too high for me. So I think right now, I understand why Lamar's getting all the love, right? He's played in primetime games. He's had really good numbers. And, you know, he's winning games that you can't just say it's Derrick Henry. It's a lot of it's on Lamar. Like, he's winning with his arms. So I get the movement, but I just think the disrespect for Mahomes and people being like, this guy shouldn't be in the top 3, shouldn't be in the top 5. It's gone too far, where at the end of the day, all that matters is winning. And that's what Mahomes does the best out of any of these quarterbacks.
Right. I mean, I do agree with you to a degree, right? Like, if you talk about the term most valuable player to a team, I'm sure if you put plenty of these other quarterbacks in the situation that Patrick Mahomes has been put in, they're not undefeated. They're not 6-0. They're not staring this down the barrel, and they probably have worse statistics than Patrick Mahomes does. But at the same time, it's like, what is this award in general? It's quickly become just the quarterback on the best team award, which then it's also like maybe Mahomes, but then when you factor in statistics, it kind of goes all over the place, hence the Lamar Jackson jump that we've seen. Another guy in particular, Jared Goff, has also jumped up because of some flashy statistics, and someone in this 3 of us here is on tilt about how Jared Goff is not getting any love in the MVP market. Loser. And I think you can use your context clues as to who that might be. So, Chad Millman, the floor is yours, my friend. Tell me why Jared Goff is getting disrespected right now.
Charlie, you certainly made it hard for people to figure out which one of the 3 of us is frustrated at these odds. Listen, great for Lamar Jackson. He deserves it. The real interesting calculus here, and which makes no sense to me, how is Jared Goff not at least the 3rd shortest odds to be MVP? And by the way, what the graphic doesn't show is that heading into the weekend, he was 17-1. So I happened to bet Jared Goff at 17-1 when he started the game 12 of 12 against the Vikings. By the end of the day, it had been cut in half, and it makes no sense. Like, I give Simon his credit on Patrick Mahomes. He's a public favorite at all times. The bookies are never going to make him longer than 2 throughout the season, as long as the Chiefs are undefeated. But how is Jared Goff not ahead of Josh Allen? Jared Goff leads the league in completion percentage. He leads the league in yards per attempt. He's 2nd at passes of 20-plus yards. And by the way, Lamar Jackson is not 1st. He's 2nd in QBR. He has the highest completion percentage over 4 games in the history of the NFL at 83.5%. And by the way, he has been masterful against pressure this season, and that was supposed to be his Achilles heel. The Lions are the best team in the NFC. They have overcome the injury of Aiden Hutchinson, at least in the first game after he was out. This is a team that by the end of the season could have the best record in the NFL. I think you're still getting value on him if this award is going to be about the best player, the best quarterback on the team that has the best record. He's got fewer losses than Lamar Jackson right now. So it makes no sense to me, at the very least, that he is not shorter odds than Josh Allen.
See, I'm going to push back to you because I don't fully agree with your statement on shorter odds than Josh Allen. I think maybe Mahomes should be outside the top 3, but as you mentioned, the hold, and as long as the Chiefs remain undefeated, he's going to stay there. But you look at Josh Allen, and I understand, the completion percentage and everything, but the lack of talent around Josh Allen compared to the talent that is at Jared Goff, and then the fact that if you add in, total yards, passing and rushing, Allen has Goff beat. Touchdowns, Allen has Goff beat. Interceptions, Allen has Goff beat. Why are you so set on the fact that he should be higher than Allen, who is doing this and winning games despite having, Keon Coleman and Mac Hollins as his wide receiver 1 and 2? That was until Amari Cooper came in last week.
Because he's playing better on a team that is playing better. That's what the award is about. Give me the best quarterback on the team that has the best record. And right now, the Detroit Lions are one of the most dominant teams in the NFL. They just beat the only other undefeated team in football other than the Chiefs. I am projecting, Charlie, I am saying the bookmakers are making a mistake by leaving Jared Goff at longer odds than Josh Allen, because I believe the Lions have a better chance to succeed, have the best record in the NFL, and make it far into the playoffs, and they are discounting that right now.
I agree with you to a degree with that, and I did go to. If anyone's on tilt about this Goff situation too, I'm a little bit, because I went to Chris Raybon before the season, gave him a bunch of MVP options, said Jared Goff north of 20-1, and he talked me off of it, and now Jared Goff's shorter than 10-1, and I'm a bit upset.
Then it just sounds like you're trying to justify why you didn't listen to your instincts and make your own decisions.
Yeah.
You can't be mad at me for getting good odds on Jared Goff in the middle of the game on Sunday.
Listen, that's fair, but also at the same time, I do think there's something to be said about what Josh Allen is doing for the Buffalo Bills, playing through the injury as well. Simon, I'm curious your thoughts. How do you see, this race kind of running down between Allen, Goff? Do you think the odds are right, or do you think that Goff actually should be leapfrogging Josh Allen?
No, I think you're overthinking a little bit here, where Josh Allen's been good this year, but it's against bad teams, right? He got blown out against this Ravens team, and that Houston game, he got really lucky to even come back into that game. So I'm looking forward to see what the Bills can do down the road, because right now they're really good against bad teams in a weak division. That's what they've been doing, where, these other guys have played against tough competition and won those games. Again, Lamar heads up, dominated the Bills team. So I think Josh Allen is really talented, but you see there is kind of a ceiling for him this year, right? You're right. There is a discrepancy in the talent, but it's not like Lamar's got these world beaters on the outside, right? He has Derrick Henry, but his receivers aren't that great. Like, that's why I've been so impressed with Lamar. And I'm on Chad's side here. I just think Goff has just been incredible. Like, to put up 3 straight games of 40 points against pretty good competition. I mean, you can't, stick your nose up to it. Like, this guy has been playing out of this world. I think he's well deserved to be where he's at. So I do agree with Chad. I think he should be above Josh Allen at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he does deserve to be in the top 5. That makes sense. And listen, I think Lamar Jackson deserves his flowers and more for what he's been able to do through the opening month and a half of the season. And I think everyone but, maybe Brandon Anderson has not been giving him the rightful flowers that Lamar Jackson deserves. But, of course, guys, we can't let you go without a few picks, a look ahead for the weekend at hand. I know favorites have been absolutely dominating the public in particular of late. So what better than 2 ugly underdogs to back? Chad Millman, you're up first. Indianapolis Colts against the Houston Texans, and you're backing the Colts getting 6 on the road here. Tell me more.
Yeah, I don't love it because, like you said, the favorites have been having their way. The public has been having its way, especially. But one thing I look for, I don't like to just back the trends. And the trends here say, take the Colts. Division favorites this year, 7-8. Division favorites the past decade, 45% against the spread. In this matchup, the Colts have continued to have an advantage when the number is this high. They are 5-1 against the spread this year. And what I like to look for beyond the trends is, do I have a unit that can be dominant against the team that is the favorite? I do. The Colts have the best run blocking scheme and the best run blocking offensive line in the NFL. They may get Jonathan Taylor back this week, and the Texans' rush defense overall is not that good. So it gives an opportunity for the Colts to control the line of scrimmage on one side of the ball. I also like when the team that is the underdog also has a very good coach. So I'm not betting just a trend. I'm betting a couple things here where I think the Colts have an advantage. So I think the number is a little bit too high. The number has already come down from 6.5 to 6. CJ Stroud without Nico Collins in 2 games. Again, these games were on the road, so there's some discounting here. But in 2 games, his QB rating is about 45. That is 20 to 30 points lower than what he is normally at. He is not playing as well without Nico Collins. So give me the Colts as road division dogs.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Week 1, a 2-point win for the Houston Texans against the Colts. Now there's no Nico Collins. Also, you mentioned the coaching discrepancy. And the Texans, quite frankly, haven't been that good of late. Just even before Nico Collins, I feel like there was some holes that were not kind of shown or were showing, but they kept on winning. Simon, you're going to the Las Vegas Raiders, and I mentioned that favorites have been dominating. It's been road favorites in particular the last couple of weeks that have been dominating. But again, the trends also are pointing toward underdogs of 6, 7 or more. The Raiders are catching 10 against Kansas City. We talked about Patrick Mahomes and the MVP run that he's on. Why do you like the Raiders with Gardner Minshew under center now?
Yeah, because this number is just too high. I think this is too much love by the public and too much disrespect to a divisional underdog. And, historically, Mahomes struggles against the Raiders team. I mean, they did a whole thing this summer of beating up some Kermit the Frog doll in practice. And, Mahomes has just been waiting to get his revenge on that. But I look from the other perspective of huge game last week by that Chiefs team, right? They had a bye week, then they go and they beat this 49ers team. Now they're on another back-to-back road game going against a divisional game that you expect to be a letdown spot. Like we've seen historically, that it's hard to get up back-to-back weeks, especially when you expect them to roll this Raiders team, right? And I view it as they're not this old Chiefs team with all these big guns, Tyreek Hill and a young Kelsey that can put up 30, 40 points. They play ugly, close games, and that's what the Raiders want. That's what they thrive on, playing these really ugly, close games. Now you add on top Mahomes' turnover issues, right? That's been a big issue this year. That's what's been keeping a lot of these games close. So I like this matchup, not just offensively for the Raiders, but also defensively. And I could just see this being a close, ugly game. And we're seeing this number come down, right, Chad? Like we talked about this at 10.5, 10. It's now a couple of 9.5s at a lot of books. So that's what I want to give out here. I just want people to grab the 10 now before it does disappear.
Yeah, grabbing that key double-digit number. You mentioned at the top of the show, no RB1, no wide receiver 1, no wide receiver 2. Well, now Juju Smith-Schuster is also out. Travis Kelce remains not looking like his old self, still getting back into football shape. Makes sense to hold your nose, take a double-digit underdog. I'll be joining you on this one. But Chad Millman, Simon Hunter, appreciate you guys hopping on, and we'll talk to you again next week. And then there were 2 on the diamond as we switch over to Major League Baseball. The Los Angeles Dodgers fended off the New York Mets and joined the New York Yankees in the World Series LA. The short favorites in this one, but let's take a look at how these 2 superstar-led offenses stack up. The Bronx Bombers have lived up to their name with a league-leading number of home runs thanks to Aaron Judge and company. The Dodgers, though, not too far behind, both of them among the highest payrolls in baseball as well. Surprise, surprise, you spend on athletes and superstars, and you do extremely well in the postseason. As we welcome in Sean Zerillo to talk more about the World Series at hand. Sean, let's not waste any time. It's Yankees, it's Dodgers. It's, the MLB's wet dream, if you will. This is what they wanted, Shohei and Aaron Judge facing off in the World Series. The Yankees are underdogs in this one. How do you see this series playing out from a betting standpoint?
Yeah, that Dodgers payroll number a little misleading considering Shohei took a big pay cut officially, but I projected the Yankees as minus 111 favorites in this series, 52.5%. I would bet them up to minus 102, which is a 2% edge compared to that number. I would have this as a true coin flip, but for some health issues for the Dodgers, which we'll get into in a little bit. But in terms of breaking down position by position or unit by unit, the biggest advantage the Yankees have, or either team has in this series, is the Yankees starting pitching depth and quality. And in games 3 and 4 in particular, I'll make them around 60% favorites and 56% favorites. That's the biggest that I'll make any team as a favorite in any game of this series. The biggest I'll make the Dodgers as a favorite is 52.5%. in games 2 and game 6, provided that Jack Flaherty is pitching those games. Otherwise, I basically project the Yankees as a bigger favorite than the Dodgers in any game. Now, as that graphic showed, these have been the 2 best offenses in baseball this season. The Yankees, number 1 on the year. The Dodgers, number 1, since Max Muncy came back into their lineup in August. The bullpens are really close, but what I want to point out is the fact that the Yankees have thrown 53% of their innings in the playoffs with their starters. The Dodgers have thrown 59% with their relievers. So I think of the two, the Dodgers are the likelier to wear down. And then just defensively, the last point, the Yankees have the best pitch framing duo in baseball with Austin Wells and Jose Trevino. The Dodgers, and they have the 2 best individual defenders in the series with Volpe and Verdugo. The Dodgers basically rank closer to average everywhere else. The Yankees have some worse defenders with Judge and Soto. So Yankees slight defensive advantage, bigger starting pitching advantage everywhere else. These teams are pretty comparable. So Yankees minus 111 favorites. And if they had home field or if they were at a neutral site, I would make them even bigger favorites.
Right. And I think that's so interesting, right? Like, obviously the time off helps both bullpens in particular. Like Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, definitely were looking gas down the stretch, but the same can be said for the Dodgers that just had consistently throwing out their high leverage arms. We saw the Mets have so many base threats, just could not convert with runners in scoring position. I think it's interesting, right? Like, so we look at this series from that was just all right, this is what I project from a whole series point of view. But when you dig deeper into the game by game and just like other futures perspectives, the Dodgers obviously haven't named a game 1 starter yet. You're assuming that it's going to be Yamamoto, but Jack Flaherty, obviously the other guy that they're throwing around. The Yankees, meanwhile, will throw out Garrett Cole on Friday night in game 1 of the World Series. And I'm curious your thoughts on just betting, even deeper than just a series POV once you find out the information that it is Yamamoto or Flaherty starting in game 1.
Yeah, the game 1 line to me reflects that it should be Yamamoto, the odds that are out there right now. Now, if Flaherty does go in game 2, I think it positions the Yankees to have solid matchup, as I projected it out, in all 3 of their games at home, but also in games 2 and game 6 against Flaherty with Rodon going against the Dodgers lefties, Freddie Freeman potentially coming out of the lineup in those games. So if Flaherty is going to be named as the number 2 starter, if Yamamoto is going to go in game 1, I like the Yankees to win the series exactly 4-2. I would project that at plus 545. You can get plus 600 out there right now. If Flaherty starts game 1, I would probably bet the Yankees to win 4-1. Exact same odds. My projection would probably adjust once I reran it to show value on that. I would probably make that closer to plus 550. So depending on which game Flaherty starts, I like this series to end in the second of those starts, either game 5 or game 6. Right now, I'm assuming it's going to be game 6. But then alongside that, there's some exact outcome props that we discussed last round. And then also in the wild card round or earlier rounds in this playoff, I believe it was the divisional round with the Royals and the Tigers, with getting Tarik Skubal in games 2 and games 5. Well, here I would like to target the Yankees to win the starts against Flaherty and then to lose those Yamamoto starts. So Yankees to win games 2, 3, 4, and 6. Right now, that's plus 7,500. Or the Yankees to win games 1, 3, 4, and 5. That's 19-1. Again, all dependent upon if Flaherty or Yamamoto goes in game 1 for the Dodgers. I'm expecting right now it's going to be Yamamoto, and we're going to be able to take shots at those 75-1 bets in addition to the Yankees to win 4-2 at plus 600. But either way, I like the Yankees to win the series by 1.5 games at plus 178, or that's where I projected it as plus 178. I also like the Yankees plus 1.5 games. I made that minus 217. I would prefer to bet their series price instead of the plus 1.5 price because I show value on that too. But if you can find value on the minus 1.5, I'd say probably plus 200 or better. I would fire at that as well. I think they can get it done in 5 or 6 games, considering I do think Flaherty is pitching at a reduced level right now. We could talk more about his individual game props as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Flaherty. Obviously, talking to Sean Zerillo about the World Series right now. And I agree with you. I think, I even think I'll probably wait till game 1, assuming Yamamoto goes, and then I'll bet the Yankees on the series line just to win the World Series, just fading Flaherty. And I think this is the most interesting thing, right? We saw, in the first game against the Mets, Flaherty came out 7 innings, no runs. The other 2 games, he's looked human. The velocity dip is, I think, the most interesting thing that we need to discuss. And, obviously the Yankees were also in on Flaherty at the trade deadline. Ultimately, the medicals came back a little too much for them to end up pulling the trigger on a trade. Then the Dodgers go out, they get Flaherty. He's been key down the stretch. But for me, my thoughts are, how can I fade Flaherty? Whether it's, hits allowed, strikeouts under, earned runs, the Yankees on the money line. How are you looking at this one? And can you dive a little bit deeper into just exactly the velocity dip that we've kind of seen from Flaherty over the postseason?
Yeah, I'll probably be targeting over on walks and under on strikeouts. These teams, despite having a lot of power, two best power teams in baseball, they actually strike out around a league average rate, even closer to top 10. So both teams strike out less than you would expect considering the amount of power that they have. And I think they can pick apart Flaherty, be patient against them. Flaherty didn't get a single strikeout in his last start against the Mets. That first start that you mentioned where he pitched well against them, he got 4 of his 6 strikeouts the first time through the order, just 2 the second and third times through, and then none in his next start after that. But the velocity, as you mentioned, his final 2 starts of the regular season, Flaherty averaged 91.8 on his fastball, 83.8 on his slider. Anytime he dips that slider back below 85 miles an hour, it's been a problem for him throughout his career. But what was really notable about his last start against the Mets, his maximum velocity was 2 miles an hour below the hardest pitch that he threw in the prior start. The hardest pitch he threw in that Game 2 start was 95.9. The hardest he got to in that last start was 93.9. So not only was his average velocity down 2 miles an hour compared to his previous start, his maximum velocity, the hardest he threw any pitch, was also down 2 ticks compared to his previous start. And his final 2 starts of the regular season, it was evident that Flaherty's velocity had been declining. His walk rate had been going up through September. His strikeout rate had been going down throughout September. There was a slight dip, actually, in that start against the Mets relative to his start against the Padres, and his rest has continued to shrink with each of these postseason starts. Now it is going to grow again. So I think the first time through the order, I'd be a little bit careful about fading him. But live against Flaherty, live on the over, the second time through the order, I think you may see a velocity dip because it seems kind of evident that that arm is wearing down at this point in the season.
And especially, if the series makes it deeper into like Game 6 and you get Flaherty on a normal rest, where we saw that second time against the Mets, it went so sour. That's where you're kind of looking to fade Flaherty in particular. It's really interesting. I mean, the 7 ERA in the postseason, 8 strikeouts, 7 walks in 15 1/3, and that includes that 7 scoreless against the Mets. The other guy we have to talk about, Sean, is Freddie Freeman. Obviously, he would not be playing in this game had it been a regular season game, right? Like the entire postseason, he'd be on the injured list, he'd be getting healthy. He has a severe ankle injury right now, and it shows, right? The Mets are opting to pitch and attack him compared to other guys. And I'm assuming with him too, on a game-by-game perspective, as long as he's in the lineup, you're looking to fade him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He might even sit against Rodon when the Yankees start a lefty. The Yankees are potentially carrying Nestor Cortez to add an extra lefty to their bullpen to neutralize Ohtani and Muncy, in addition to Freeman if he plays. But Freeman, just a 461 OPS in the playoffs, 7 for 32. He's only walked 1 time. He just seems like a free out in the middle of their order at this point. Maybe they move him out of the cleanup spot, move him down to 6, flip him with Muncy, do something differently with their lineup because it's been miserable. He also can't run to first base. And if he puts something in the gap, I'm not sure he's going to be able to get to second base. So if Freeman is in there under 1.5 total bases, if you can get a decent price on it, I think would be worth a look just because his chances of getting a double or an extra base hit are a bit more limited. His chances of getting 2 hits in a game, I think, are a bit more limited. Also, under 1.5 total runs and hits in RBI, because that doesn't include walks. I think he's likelier maybe to try to look for walks, work pitchers, get on base. Then maybe he comes in on a homer and scores a run off of that, but you're not getting the hit along with it. So if Freeman is in there, I mean, the books know they've adjusted his props, but if you can get an under 1.5, or even take shots on an under half total base, under half hit at plus money, plus 140, I think is where they were hanging it for the last game against the Mets. So just keep an eye on Freeman's props. He's nowhere near healthy. And very specifically, do not look at Freddie Freeman's odds at World Series MVP at 25-1 and go, oh, that's great value. He's probably going to miss at least 1, if not 2 games in this series and going to be limited beyond that. So just be careful. Any Freddie Freeman or Jack Flaherty props, for that matter, going into this series, strikeout leaders, home run leaders, any sort of statistical leaders or awards bets for either of those two, I think they're donations right now.
Right. Freddie Freeman, just 2 2-hit games, or I guess 2 base games in 8 total postseasons, 0 extra base hits. You mentioned the OPS from Freddie Freeman. It really feels like you know, he's a free fade at this point. Not actually a free fade, but pitchers are looking to attack him as opposed to everybody else in the lineup, and that's kind of an issue down the stretch here. And you mentioned it, that Freddie Freeman in particular, defensive replacement as well. Muncy comes in later in the game, so he's not going to even have those big moments or opportunities to put the Dodgers in front late for that MVP if you were even considering that. So keep in mind Freddie Freeman and Jack Flaherty down the stretch here. The injuries seem to be taking a toll on the World Series. But Sean Zerillo, thank you so much for hopping on, for giving us a little breakdown of the World Series ahead of Game 1 Friday. We'll talk to you again on Friday to talk a little MVP market and the matchup at hand once they announce the Dodgers starting pitching. But Sean, thank you for hopping on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Why can't they both lose?
Yeah, please. I mean, you know, you're telling me. But anyway, any pick that we give out here on the show, you can easily reference by following us in the award-winning Action Network app under the handle at Green Dot Daily. We keep track so you don't have to. And that's going to be all for Green Dot Daily on this Tuesday. Enjoy NBA opening night. Enjoy the light slate of sports. We'll be back here tomorrow, Wednesday, to talk college football and the NFL at Green Dot Daily at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again tomorrow.